speaking to the Sheriff's Department in any form, keep your mics on. And I'd like to welcome the committee members, Denny Collins, Cindy Slater, Harry Thompson, Bill Winters, and myself. And Mr. Winters will lead us in a word of prayer, and Mr. Collins will lead us in our pledge. Everybody stand, please.
Shall we pray? Father, we thank you for this day. It's many blessings to us. Thank you for the men and women that joined us today. Stand in the gap for us every day. We're there to protect us, all of our family. Pray blessings upon them. Pray strength, your protection. Our angels continue to be around them. Thank you for what they do. Pray that the things that we do today, not only pleasing to our constituents, pleasing to them. In Christ's name. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
Second.
Mr. Thompson with a motion, Mr. Slater with a second. Call the roll, please. Do we need to call the roll? Just a voice? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved. Looking, we asked also to have a motion to approve the day's agenda. Moved by Ms. Slater, second by Mr. Thompson. We'll move right on into the agenda then. We got item A is the Tier 1 update. Now I'll turn that over to the sheriff or whomever he has in to talk.
And thank you. Thanks for having us. Elizabeth Harris, who is my compliance officer, will give you a report concerning the Tier 1 update. This is required every quarter, and we try to do a meeting every quarter to abide by their rules. But she can tell you where we're at and what we're looking for in the future.
Okay, so in November with Tier 1, we got $28,080. In December, $27,528, and in January, $30,132. Last year, they increased from $3 a day to $6 a day for Tier 1 inmates. And then we had our audit on October 15th. And then December 4th, the TCI approved our Tier 1. Yep, that's all.
Any questions about the Tier 1, Ms. Slater?
So who would be considered a Tier 1 inmate?
So it's our state TDOC inmates.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Oh, and we are also exploring looking into being Tier 2 as well.
Ma'am, I didn't hear you.
We're looking into being Tier 2 as well.
Thank you.
Let me tell you about Tier 2. Several agencies are starting to look at Tier 2. Tier 1 actually adds you $6 additional to each inmate, each state inmate. So if you go Tier 2, if you make that certification, which I will communicate with y'all as well as Mayor Davis as we move forward, there will be some things that we need to talk about if we do, but that's an additional $6 per state inmate. So it's additional revenue if you want to get the Tier 1 accreditation, and then if you go and seek the Tier 2, and there's a lot of work to it, but getting it will be an additional $6. So you could get a total of $12 for each, adding from 41. Now we get 47, and add 53, going on up to 53. So there is room for improvement. There's room to get better as we move forward, that we will communicate with the Law Enforcement Committee and Mayor Davis as we move forward.
Mr. Winters?
Tier 1, Tier 2 are more extreme citizens brought in. With Tier 1 is the higher level.
Actually, Bill, what it has to do with a lot is their education programs as to where we're at, and I think we lead the way in that, thanks to Cleveland State, City Fields, workforce development. Everybody's got a hand in it. We have,
Certification.
as you well know, we have the welding classes, we have electrical classes, we have culinary on down the line. We try to get better and add those classes because recidivism's what we want to turn around. We want those people to come back. We want to try to give them an opportunity to do better in life. And I think that's what this is all. The tiers is a lot centered around, correct me if I'm wrong. But that's where we're at, but there's some things that we have to look at to go to tier 2, and we have to look at those things together to make sure that's what we want to do.
Yes, Mr. Winters?
Do you follow them to see if they have jobs afterwards, or is there some reward to you all for them to be employed?
You know, that some of them are hired before they ever leave jail. No doubt we'll set up interviews for different people.
Right.
That's the way we're getting people jobs generally. It works a whole lot better than what's happening in the workhouse because so many rules were put on the workhouse by the state. Sometimes you put laws in place that don't really help.
Right.
And the ankle bracelets were a big thing, especially for misdemeanor inmates. If you have somebody going out, you got to be very careful. But I think the tier 1 and 2 has really helped us, and the education and getting better with the inmates as we go.
Yeah, and if I could add, Commissioner Winters, those that City Fields is involved in, they do have caseworkers that follow them
Yes.
after they're released to follow up with them at least for a year to see if they are employed and what other needs that they may have.
And City Fields, yes, and they'll encourage them to come on to their place and continue on once they're in a program. I know, and several have. I think several have. The percentages, Bill, I can't stand here and tell you, but it sure has helped, and it helps them have an avenue.
Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am. We'll move right on into item B, medical contract.
Cassandra, you want to come forward and address the medical contract, where we are and where we have to go this budget year?
Just an update. I don't know if you can hear me, sorry. So just an update on the medical contract, just so you all know. We'll have to present our budget or turn our budget in before the medical contract is up to be bid out. So there's no extension to the current contract. We've reached all of the that we take on the current contract. So the contract ends on August the 31st, putting us into a new contract starting. Our goal is to put the RFP out for bid in May or June so that we can have all of those bids back to us and which company to put in for that. So as far as the increase in our contract for medical, that's hard to. We're going to probably sit down with the mayor and kind of decide how we need in the budget. That's going to be pretty, but I just want to state that is a contract that bid out.
One question on that, Sheriff, maybe you can answer it too. Did we look into doing it in-house at one time or another?
So actually, back in under Tim Gobble, have our medical house, and for reasons we decided to put it back out. I think it's just trying to keep staff, trying to make sure that we all of the, we have to have a doctor on staff, and plus all of the licenses and all of that. I think a lot for us to have to do.
I think it would be a very big undertaking for us to look and do it immediately. You would have to phase that in over time, or I think we would get in over our head. Because as you well know, I think the medical contract now, just the base, is around $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to make sure we're right when we do that, live by TCI standards, because they're very strict. They'll come in and check our medical, and the companies, no matter who it is, are way ahead of us. It would take us a lot of time to catch up. I would hate to take on that responsibility just unless you spread it out over to make and prepare.
And we've had a lot of get it out, and since we did it out last time, we've had a lot of different things happen. So the company that we originally bid out to sold out to another company, And then the way that we had been doing the contract with all of the things that were included in the base price of the contract, all of that changed. And so we're moving, I mean, we've had a couple of years, I think this is year 2, where we've had to take out like pharmaceuticals and on-site x-rays and lab work and just a whole lot of things come out of that base contract, and we had to put a separate line for that. So moving forward, there's not going to be a lot of changes to the contract that's going out for bid, but there are a lot of changes that have taken place within the last 3 years that we had no idea we were going to be looking at. So it's a lot. Medical contract is a lot.
Mr. Thompson?
Does the hospital work with you good now?
We've had our ups and downs. I'll be fair to both sides here. Don't want to get in the middle of that, but we've had our ups and downs. I've had inmates that are transferred to Nashville, and we have to send officers and didn't understand why. So I think they do. I think they will talk to me, but nothing's perfect. We don't live in a perfect world. But once you handle inmates in a hospital and the medical needs, it will overwhelm you if you allow it to. So I don't want to stand here and be critical or give too much credit, but I want to be fair to everybody. So, yeah, they will work with me, but can we do better? You can always do better.
Miss,
So they have kind of a memorandum of understanding, so to speak, where they give us a certain percentage of like Medicare rates, something like that. So they do work with us on that end of things as well as far as the billing goes. So that has been something that the mayor years ago worked out with Nova, and it's just kind of carried over throughout the changes of management, so to speak.
Ms. Slater?
So Cassandra, with the healthcare costs that the county saw this year and then with what the school system is looking at for this year, I can't imagine that your costs would be any less next year than they are today.
No. So we've seen as far as, I don't know how much the increase will be on the base side of things, but then you have to also think about all of the other items that we pay out. So pharmaceuticals, pharmaceuticals can be expensive, and when you're dealing with the individuals that we deal with on a daily basis, sometimes medicine for one inmate, just one medicine, can cost us $5,000 or $6,000. So it's hard to actually like pinpoint down what we think we're going to spend because it varies month to month. And then if we have to send out, of course, that's an additional cost. And then, if we have to send to Bradley Medical and then we have to transfer them to another hospital, we did increase our 599 line this last year by, I think, around $100,000. And to be honest, we're getting really close to spending that. And so I'm going to have to find ways to, obviously add money to that line to get us through for the rest of the year.
Sheriff, will we have doctors and nurses on hand all the time, 24/7 on campus?
Glad you brought that up, Bill, because here's where I think you said the changes, Cassandra. Part of the changes were the litigation. When I took office, the lawsuit that we had to answer to remember the billboards, have you been done wrong? That proceeded on and has been closed. However, we had to do certain things. We added a nurse practitioner who is there 40 hours, can prescribe the medications. We also added mental health therapist, 40 hours a week, plus a nurse practitioner that comes in at least 8 hours a week. So you covered all the bases. Are we where we need to be? Probably not, but we're pretty good. And we had to have a evaluation done by a third party to satisfy the litigation, which they just finished with, and Crystal's is getting that report from them. So it keeps us in check as we go, and we try to stay ahead of the game and make sure we're the best we can be. And you're always going to have problems as long as you run a jail.
We do have 24-hour medical coverage. So we have at least an LPN, 2 LPNs on shift, 24 hours. So we have an RN that's assigned to the jail for 40 hours as well. So we do have 24-hour medical coverage inside the jail.
There no more questions. Thank you, Cassandra. Move right on into item C, a camera update.
Facility camera update, I think we found within and moved some money around and spent $160,000 is what I allotted. Maybe over that, I may have to find a few dollars to go with it. Dwayne can tell you about that. It's inside the jail to keep the cameras up to par. You always have to replace stuff and get better as you go. Some of them were out, but that's another cost nobody even thinks about, and the things you have to keep up to stay on top of your game. Dwayne's going to address the camera.
Yeah, prior to this project, we had about 103 cameras that were still analog cable cameras. They were difficult to see. They were not very good quality, and we'd been working for several years towards trying to get all of our in-house cameras inside the facility changed over to IP cameras. So this was the final push. This is phase 3 of our camera project that we started back in 2019 when the control board was actually installed then. So we now have all cameras off of the old analog system, and they're all digital IP cameras now. We still probably have one more phase where we need to add a few cameras and upgrade some of the camera quality of the cameras that are existing in the facility. But we're a lot further along than we have been in a number of years. So thankful that we're able to, do the budget amendments and find that money without having to ask for the money to get us where we are with the cameras. So we've got coverage better now than we've had in quite a while with the cameras. We just finished this last week. It took about a year to be able to get all this done.
Any questions referencing the cameras? Mr. Winters?
Do you have drones with cameras? Do you have a way to have cameras see the whole complex at all the time?
Well, we do have a drone program, and of course those drones do have cameras. We don't typically use those at the facility other than for training. We have taken aerial videos of our facility for presentations and things like that.
Do you have full coverage over the whole campus?
We could.
I mean,
we don't have it, up and running all the time, so
If
we don't
somebody
have an
climbs over your-
overwatch, so to speak, with a drone. No.
Somebody climbs over your fence, you know that, right?
Oh,
Somebody
the
climbs
cameras
over.
themselves. Is that what? I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
misunderstood. We have exterior cameras and interior cameras. We don't. I don't like to speak publicly about
yeah.
where camera locations are specifically, but if you want me to answer, I can. We have very good coverage of our entire facility over there.
Great, thank you.
There no more questions.
Thank you.
Now we'll go to item D, which is, I'm sure Sheriff's looking forward to giving us that budget proposal increase.
And I'm sure you're looking forward to hearing. I've talked to y'all before about laying out plans, and I think Chairman and myself actually spoke in one meeting. It's been about 2 months ago, and he said, get us about 3 proposals to bring to us. And so I've got 2. So I put together 2, and as we discussed, we need to be more competitive regarding the Sheriff's Office employees' pay in order to attract and retain employees. We're falling further behind comparing to other sheriff's offices. I didn't compare us to any police department, only sheriff's offices in our area and one that is comparable in size. So I'll lay those numbers out to you in this presentation. It's at the end, I would like to request what you think we need to do and what you think I need to entertain in my budget. What we can do, how far we can go, what monies we have. I'm not the financial mechanism of this county, you are, and I have to lay it out to you, and my job is to lay out what I think our needs are and where I think we need to fit in. And keep in mind, I'll say it 2 or 3 times, I got to represent the people that work for me, the employees of the sheriff's office that keep you safe, and I've also got to represent the taxpayers of this county who fund this county, and I understand that. So the factors I considered that affected my pay proposal plans were employees raised serious concerns regarding pay, and I have heard that. While we have addressed pay in the past years, and we are still behind the surrounding sheriff's offices. Bradley County deserves quality professional employees. We simply can't continue, in my opinion, to lose employees. I want all employees to earn a fair living wage for the difficult jobs that they perform daily. Based on the results we produce, and they're on the TBI website, compare them to any agency around us, we should be one of the highest paid agencies in the state. But I'm trying to be fair to everyone, both sides, in my assessment. I represent every employee at the sheriff's office as the elected sheriff. And it's my duty to fight for them when it's simply the right thing to do. I also represent the people of Bradley County who elected me as your sheriff. It must be fair to them regarding all of their tax dollars. I completed a comparison of surrounding sheriff's offices' pay to see where we stand. I feel the two provided options are fair to all the employees as well as being fair to the taxpayers. Our current pay, you'll see where we rank. We're down the list, and with 2 counties behind us, and as you see how many counties I compared us to, what is there, 8 on there? And we are number 6. On the post side, and that's your uniformed officers are on the streets, that's your investigators, that's some of your court officers, that's your SROs. And we rank 40, can you back up 1 second? 45,618. Just behind us is Meigs County and Polk County. The other counties that are comparable are ahead of us.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Your 45,618, that's the starting pay, correct?
That's the starting pay. What the numbers you're seeing that you'll see on these graphs are the starting pay, Cindy. I'm sorry. Go ahead. TCI certified, we're on up the list. I'm going to stand here and tell you the truth as to where we're at because some agencies, it appears to me, have raised their post side because they wanted the officers on the streets, but maybe forgot their corrections officers. And I can't do that. May not be able to ask for as much on one side as the other, but you've got to get them as to where we get better. And you'll see where they're at. 43,497. Now, that's really up from when I took office. We've worked on that hard, but we've used some of my own money in doing that. So, but go ahead. Civilian pay comparison, there's where we are. Right at the bottom of the list with only Blount County, and Blount County is, I think they graduate up. They got a step system where they graduate up, but we're behind everybody on the civilian side and was behind everybody when I took office. But we've tried to adjust that. I got to recognize it. I got to represent every employee and compare all three and let you see them. The comparisons shows that post and certified and civilian employees are ranked near the bottom of the starting pay. Post certified and civilian employees are farther behind than is corrections. All Bradley County Sheriff's Office employees need higher pay to be competitive with surrounding agencies. Most comparative agencies don't pay post, which is the uniform officers, the road officers, and TCI, which is the corrections officers, the same. Besides, the only 2 counties I know of in the state of Tennessee that do that is Blount County and Coffee County. So here's option number 1. Option number 1, it goes from the post pay would increase $10,000. Goes from post pay now, $45,618.70. The starting pay would go to $55,618.70. And you see the hourly pay. TCI would go a $6,000 raise, which would not be the same as post, but would go from 43 to 49. 43,496, the parallel. And then the civilian side would go from 34,267 to 40,267.07. So if you implemented option 1 on the post side, it would take you from way down the list to go into the 3rd position just ahead of Monroe County. And you got to understand, I'm basing all of this on last year's money. So they're probably going to come along and give some kind of raises this year, each county I'm comparing to, but I only have the numbers I have now. So it would go, the starting pay on the post-certified side would go to 55,618. On the TCI side, you would still stay in 3rd position. You would close the money gap a little bit. So you would go up from 43,497 to 49,497, not moving any slots, but you would close the gap a little bit on Blount County, and Hamilton County's ahead of that. In civilian pay, you would go from near the bottom, from second from the bottom, up to the middle of the pack, just behind McMinn County and in front of Monroe County, 40,267. They would also be a $6,000 increase. So there you go. The graph side by side, before and after. Before is on the left, starting at the top, the post. You'll see where the red line is, where you would be, where you are now, and then where you would go on the right-hand side after. And the next, the second one is TCI. And then the 3rd one is civilian. You get an idea. It's hard to see, but you get an idea with the red lines as to where you're at currently and where you would move to. There's the cost. Total cost of option 1 to implement. $1,794,000. And believe me, I've got some negotiating things to do, and I could talk to you and we could get better than that. Believe me, but that comes in time. Option number 2 is an increase on the post side of $8,000, an increase of $4,000 for TCI and civilian employees. Once again, you would go from $45,618.70 for post to $53,618.70. It's an $8,000 increase. TCI and civilian employees would go a $4,000 increase with this option. TCI would go from $43,496 to $47,496. Civilian pay would go from starting $34,267 to $38,267. There's where you would go for post-certified officers after option 2. You would go to 4th place, squeezed in between Monroe County, which would be just ahead of us, and Blount County, which is just below us. That's where we would be, and once again, acting on last fiscal year's numbers. TCI certified people would stay in 3rd. That's where they were. That's where they would stay. It's just closing the gap in money some with other agencies and trying to keep them up instead of waiting too long and addressing it when they get wider and spread apart. And there's civilians. Civilians, if you'll remember, an initial pay was behind everybody besides Blount County. They actually move up to their 4th on the list there, just ahead of Monroe County, just behind McMinn County. There's your graphs again, side by side, post before, post after. You see the red lines where it would take you on the scale with my comparative counties. And there's total cost. And once again, we can talk about that as we go. But I think those are fair. And hopefully we can move in one of those directions. The other items that I've got to increase that I can tell you, and Cassandra, you want to come up because we're going to have to address some stuff here. real quick. Said I was gonna only try to increase in 4 line items. I want to keep it to 4 because, building maintenance actually kills us. And the building's getting older, and Cassandra can tell you some things we had happen with the new tankless hot water heaters. We had to have some things done to them. They're 4 years old. New patrol vehicles, those have been purchased, the new patrol vehicles with, I think, the ARP money for the last 2 times. It's that time again. Those, I didn't take them out of the budget, but they were taken out and bought with the ARP money. They will have to be, we'll have to have some cars, no doubt, to answer calls. And then uniform allowance probably hadn't been addressed in 12, 13 years at least. And they get, what they get now won't hardly buy a uniform. And I would increase each officer, everybody that gets, by $100. And because it's the only right thing to do. When a shirt costs you $90, it gets expensive. And we don't get near what everybody else around us gets. Go ahead, Cassandra.
Sheriff, before you go on, are you going to provide us a hard copy of all those graphs and things? If so,
Yeah,
if not,
we will.
If not, would you provide the commission with all those graphs?
I've got one printed out. I'll give to Lori.
Okay,
Really?
that'd be great. Thank you.
Is that good?
Go ahead. Sorry.
So he went over the increases of the other increases. So I do have a question. Maybe this isn't for you all. Probably more of a finance question for the finance committee. So when we had our budget meeting last Thursday, we were all asked to be there because there was some changes. So we really wasn't clear on what the changes were going to be. I thought it was probably how we were going to present our budget. Maybe y'all had asked for additional information. Well, when we got here, we found out that, so in this budget year, we've had a bunch of changes that we've tried to, it's been hard. So we've always used old purchase orders from the year before. We've been able to get purchase orders, and we've been able to use those in the current year. So say I had some money left over that I had in a PO last budget year. Normally before this year, we had a year to use those POs. So we were able to pay some invoices that came in, some additional costs. And I understand that it's not really the right practice, I guess, because you can't really see what you use in a budget or what it takes each department to use a budget. So this year, they gave us 6 months. So we could hold open POs for 6 months. They had to be used by December. So this year, when we come to our meeting, we were told that now we can hold a PO open for 6 months, but we can't use it unless the invoice that comes in is dated before July 1. So that's going to put us in a bind. And we didn't really have any questions because it was kind of sprung on us. We were not expecting it. So I did send an email and ask, and this is more of a probably finance because it'll come through a budget amendment. So my question is to not have to increase all of our lines on the front end of our budget. If I have money that I have in a PO that I drop back into the fund balance, would you all vote to allow me to move that money once the new budget hits and put it in my lines so that we can use that money? It's not money that you're going to be looking at when you're presenting the budget because we'll have that money tied up in POs. So if I drop it back into the fund balance, would you allow me to do a budget amendment and pull that money out and put it into my lines so that we can use that money to move forward? Or do I need to ask for an increase in all of my lines on the front end? And maybe that's finance, and we come to finance with those questions, but I thought I would bring it to you all because budget is, I think, so kind of a time crunch on how I should proceed with that. I don't want to ask for a big increase if it's something that we can fix outside of it.
Yeah, I don't think we're the ones to make that decision. I don't think law enforcement is the committee to make that decision. And I think the mayor's office, and Mylan can speak to this better than I can, there's things that have changed that they've been told that they have to adhere to now, and I'm sure that's where that's coming from. But, I mean, finance meets on Monday. but I don't think it's a law enforcement committee's decision.
And you could be very well right, and I see what you're saying. However, let me put however. It makes it rough on you when right before the budget, you're told
Yeah,
you've got to change the rules. And you've always operated like that over the years. Even you could leave them open all year, and last year it changed to 6 months, which I understand. But it makes it rough on us knowing we can't depend on that anymore, and that money's not going to be there. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to be, I'm not being critical of anybody, but what I'm saying is, please work with us, and if you're going to, those rules are going to change, give me a few days' notice so we know before preparing the budget. It would be, it's hard when you start preparing the budget. You know, what I'm
understand, yeah.
And I think it's gonna be something, I mean, I'm asking, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be something that every department is facing. So I thought if I could ask or maybe set up a meeting with finance, we can maybe all come in, you know, all of the departments and ask our questions or kind of figure out where we need to go with our budget on this, on the front side.
While we're on this subject, Mr. Blake, would it be something that we need to take up in finance next Monday, or would we put it on the agenda, or?
Next Monday's pretty tied up because we got CTAS coming, but I was gonna get with Lori to schedule a special meeting because, like Cassandra said, this affects everybody. I know upstairs gave me a call, across the street gave me a call. So what I'd like to do, Mr. Chair, is get with Lori, set up a date so everybody can get their schedules towards the end of next week. Instead of Monday, which is kind of agenda set already, maybe next Wednesday or Thursday, Lori, or Friday next week, invite everybody so that we can address those right there. Because, I mean, obviously we can't commit to right now. We don't know what we're doing with it, and I hadn't had a chance to talk to the mayor. He's obviously got things. So let's shoot for not doing it on Monday because that finance meeting's pretty tied up. But later on in the week, we'll take it up as a special call or as an agenda item.
Would that be all right with this committee? Any objections to looking at that way? No problems, okay. Yeah, we'll depend on, Mr. Blake, you and Miss Lori get together and set up a date sometime next week after, you know, not necessarily Monday, but one day next week where we can concentrate on, just this type thing. That'd be okay? That's what I'm talking about, yeah, we'll send out an invitation to whomever. Thank you. Mr. Winters?
Could I just add here, to the Finance Committee, if I can get the attention of the chairman over there. If there's a fund balance in the new year, you have this kind of deal come up, is it not procedure to go to the fund balance and go back through finance in the procedural future? If they're just saying, if they have those funds and they're not to the level that they could, and they have a fund balance, then you all would move on whether they could use their fund balance at that time, right?
Well, the two things there. One, you don't normally want to go to the fund balance unless you have to. I mean, the fund balance
right.
is a percentage of the expenses and all that. I
Right.
think this is also kind of a 1 year kind of thing. This is a transition year where they've got to change how they go about things. Where's Cassandra? Right? I mean, did they tell you that this is going to be a tough year because of this, but then once you get into the flow of how this works, then your budgets will adopt accordingly. Right. So you have a transition from, I guess, the year and now to 6 months POs being open, and then going forward, they'll budget accordingly through the budget request. This is that right there. But you try not to go to the fund balance because it's a percentage of the expenses, and if you go there, then you're going to get yourself in trouble. It all should be budgeted for.
But the rules changed over time too. So, I mean, the way we done business has changed over the last.
Yeah, I wasn't too happy with the auditors on some of the amendments they sent us. You know, we talked about it in finance.
Mr. Thompson?
On your pay, salary, have
Yes.
you been on the step plan all along?
No,
All along? You never quit the step plan, you've always been on?
no, the step plan was not
They
implemented,
don't.
under the time I've been until we got it 2 or 3 years ago, whatever it was, Howard. I think there was a step plan, years ago when they built the sheriff's office that was set aside for a while, and I'm not sure it was ever got, reintroduced.
One other question, I believe in earmarking 100%,
Yes,
and I just think on budgets, when it comes up, that everything needs to be earmarked. Before I would vote on anything, it'd have to be earmarked where that money's going. And that's through what's maintenance, or it's going to pay, or whatever.
that's fine with me. I don't have a problem. We need to earmark it. You need to know where it's going. And I'm not gonna stand here and ask you for anything we don't really need, or I don't see that we need. And it's like I said in the presentation, I not only represent the people with me today, or the people that work for me, but I also represent everybody across this county that allows me to serve in this job. And I understand.
Peter?
So if we go back to option 1 or option 2,
Yes,
we'll just talk about post-certified, the 10,000 and the 8,000.
sure.
Is your expectation that it would be, we'll say it's option 1. Is it the 10,000 plus what the mayor would put in his budget?
I
Or is
think-
it just a flat 10,000?
I think it would be here's what I believe. You have, of course, you got cost of living every year. I would be willing to talk about those as if we can implement a plan. I think we have to sit down and get serious about it. Where are we going? I don't have the little details of it. I don't. But I've come up with a plan because I'm making us comparable to the other agencies.
Right.
Here's where we need to be. Probably when you see those numbers, Cindy, they're probably going to increase some for the other agencies.
For sure they are.
I think a lot of them gave raises last year that they can't afford to give again this year. They may just get a cost of living, but I think we have to play that and determine with my recommendations as to where I think we need to go right now. That's the best information I had, but I would be willing to sit down and look at everything else for the year it's implemented anyway.
Okay.
Make sense?
And I know you're looking for a recommendation today from
Yes.
this committee.
Yes.
I can't give you a I'm just speaking for myself. I can't give you a recommendation today. I need to look at that. I mean, because when you talk about 1.7, $1.8 million,
Yes.
there's pennies involved with that.
Sure.
I mean,
Well, here's the thing about it. I think, well, y'all are finance people. I'm not. You understand? I bring what I think we need before you, and I understand that. However, remember, got to turn my budget in.
I
And you're
understand.
my law enforcement committee meeting. I know no better place to bring it than y'all. Where do we need to go, and what do we need to try to get to? And with making you included, instead of me just making the decision, and when I was asked to come up with different options, I think I've come up with ones that I believe are fair. Now, listen, nobody wants to pay more. You understand? I know that. You know that. However, I've got to speak up to keep the safety of this community in mind as well.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Winters?
So, Sheriff, your option 1 is your recommendation first, correct?
Well,
That's
here's
what
what
you'd
I
like
think.
to see us
Here's
do
what I
first.
think, Bill. I'll go with whatever way y'all think. However, you're going to address it quicker with option 2 again, or you go to option 1. If you want to address it faster, you probably can go with 2 and address it right around the corner. But it's up to y'all. We need to get there. We need to stay competitive. The people are not average; they're above average. I wish I'd had the crime stats up to show you for the state of Tennessee. I kind of like keeping those people, and I kind of like keeping people at home instead of going out of here to other places, because they really want to work here. Pretty good place to work, and they want to stay home, and they want to. But you can't blame them for going down the road and making $17,000, $18,000 more dollars, or across the other way to other counties that's a lot smaller than us and making more money. It just doesn't fit. And believe me, you deal with young individuals generally that's getting into law enforcement. And the world we live in today, it's not about retirement or anything else. It's about, look here, how much money can you put in my pocket today? It's just the way it is. But I've got to speak up for all of them from the top to the bottom when it's the right thing to do.
Thank you, Sheriff. Yes, sir, Mr. Towers.
I got one other thing to say that, I know a fact that we're growing in Bradley County.
Yes, sir.
We're not only growing in the sheriff's office, schools and everything else. And I know that we're gonna have a problem in the future. We keep growing, why it's, at some point, why we'll have to bite the bullet. And that's hard to say, but it's gonna have to happen, and we might as well face it. And, I don't know if you need to get out and talk to your constituents. And I think people realize, I went through a tax increase one time for schools and everything else, sheriff department, when we built that. And, when we earmarked everything and it went to where it's supposed to, it turned out pretty good. Best decision we ever made, I guess. So, I know I'm gonna be here for the next budget, for this coming budget to vote on. And, but I'm not gonna be here after that. And, I know that, we've got growing problems, and, it's something that we're gonna have to face, and whether it's now or later, why, we're gonna have to face it.
As a young assistant principal, I knew what it was like to walk into a parking lot. There's a car sitting out there. And there's a man sitting back in there. Somebody in that vehicle. And little old me was going to walk out there in the parking lot. Tell him he's going to have to move his vehicle. What in the world are you doing out there in the middle of the school day? I had to do that on my own. I went to our head principal and said, you know, we need some help. We need some help. We're Bradley Junior's in the middle of the city. Got people driving in and out of there. And Dan Gilly that year came down and sat down with us. He said, what do you need? I said, I need an officer who will come to my school and be there every day and go out with me when that has to be done. And Dan sent me that day, brought a guy in with him. He became my first SRO officer I ever had. I know what it's like to go with him. I know what it's like to go without him. For our people that need care in the public, need to have somebody that will come to their home, protect their home, sitting right here today. I don't, we're talking $3 million here, $4 million here, and it is pennies. We have to look at those pennies. But I look at the people sitting in here. I want to see here finish their careers. I want to see that happen. I see law enforcement from that line all the time. See that they go out there where I won't go. I can't go. I don't have the power to do it, but they can do that. I think we all want to do what we can do in that. If it's $2 million, $3 million, I think we go with what your first option is and keep everybody here. You want to keep everybody that's in this room here.
Absolutely.
And I think the other thing is to talk with your compatriots out there that keep moving that figure up higher, make it tough for districts like this to keep competing with that, and they get the best of ours. And that's something for you to look at in the big picture. I think we do what we can do. I've done in my career three tax increases. And I went to my people and I told them what it was for. It was for a PIE center. It was for 2 schools or 3 schools or whatever it was. Every one of the people I sat with said, well, we need to have those. And I was reelected each time. We don't get in this job just to be reelected. We get in this job to do what you said, take care of your people, do the right thing. I'm for whatever you need, and then go out and sell it to people that live with. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments? Do anyone on the committee have any motion or recommendation for moving on forward with, sheriff's plans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
I'll
Mr.
just say
Collins?
this. I agree with Commissioner Slater. I think, first of all, thank you for the presentation. I think it requires a lot of thought, requires a lot of guts. I've told you this before personally, and I'll say it to everyone in the room. You ought to stand up for your people. So don't apologize for that. It takes some thought and insight from not just this group, but our commission as a whole to be able to make that work. And so I think it would be prudent for us to evaluate those options and how we can make this happen. Obviously, the mayor is in a,
Sure.
you know, continue to pray for the mayor, but I think working with his office, working with this group, our finance, the full commission, and our community as a whole is a wise course of action. But I think what you've done here is a great start.
And believe me, I know you represent your constituents. You do. You gotta listen to them. What do they want to do? But all I ask is if they get the facts and know where we're at. And it's my job, and I've kind of been speaking to as many people as I can about it, because people need to be educated. And that's kind of on me, but I'll be glad to go talk to anybody, lay out, but the people you represent can tell you their decision. What is, nobody wants to pay more. I understand that. I wish Grandma and Grandpa didn't have to pay any more. I wish there's some mechanism there. But I also have to speak up for my people. And I'm not apologizing, Denny, but I am standing here absolutely saying, I believe this is fair. We can sit down. We can do what you wish. I'm not being, let me jump up and down. I'm not going to do that. But I think we have worked together well on many projects. And I didn't know all these agencies around us was going to start jumping pay. Who knew that? But we have and we have increased it since I've been sheriff. Pay has increased, but I've went some other things and give some things up. And I would be willing to sit down and give whatever I need to up to get the people paid first. I'll tell you this, and I'll leave you. I spoke at Civic Club the other day, and they seen the graph, and they said we should be not paying anybody but Hamilton County. And I agree. However, I've got to be realistic. But I've got to stand here and sell it to you what I believe is right. We'll move on.
So I have one other thing.
Yes, Ms. Slater?
I agree with you 100%. I wish your people, Adam's people, Jeff
Sure,
Stewart's
sure.
people could be at the top of the list.
Absolutely.
And while yours is 1.8, fire's probably at least 1.5. Yours is probably at least $1 million. I mean, we haven't seen everyone's yet. That's why I say I can't, with a good conscience, make a decision today. And I know you're on a time crunch. I understand, and it's unfortunate that the mayor's having to go through
Sure.
what he's having to go through.
Absolutely.
All I'm asking is let us get the presentation, let us talk about it, see what we can do. We know what needs to be done. We just have to figure out how we're going to get there.
And I think you know me well enough to know I'll work with
Yeah, and
you
if we
any way
need to have
can.
another law enforcement committee
Absolutely.
meeting next week or whatever we need to do.
That's
but-
fine with me. I'm open doored. I just want to show we got some movement here, and we are all on the same page, and I think we are. This group especially, I think we're all on the same page. I think we can all work together and work together well.
Any other comments? What I would suggest, when you sent me a date for a later finance meeting or something, did we? Oh, okay. We'll set up a special finance meeting after Monday's meeting, I guess. And if, since a couple of us, 3 of us are already on the finance committee, so it'd be something that we can bring forward and discuss. Because I know right now that we're going to have the same thing coming from the EMS, same thing coming from the fire department, and
Yes.
and whatever else, schools too. So we got some major decisions, and I've repeated this several times to a lot of people. There's a tsunami out here, there's a tsunami coming to Bradley County, and how we address it is going to be critical for the future of Bradley County, and I think it's going to hit us this coming year. And so we got to look hard at our budgets and look hard at our taking care of our people, because I think, as all of you know, I'm a strong believer of law enforcement and the rest of them. So, any other comments? I know I'll try my best. I had one other question on your step plan. It was point
Yes.
0.9.
Yes.
Did you compare if you went to 1
One.
point,
Round it
if
up
it
to
would
one.
it would help on the total amounts of money or anything? Has anybody looked at that side of the coin?
We have the figures, I just don't have them with me. You remember, anybody remember? Cause I don't.
No.
I'll get with you. I'll bring you up. We did figure that way. I didn't wanna overload the apple cart,
I understand.
in one
I was
deal.
just thinking it might be
Yeah.
another
Yeah, it could be another option, no doubt.
Another
And that's-
possible option.
That's something to put in the equation as we sit down and look at everything overall.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about.
Were there some years taken out of the
There
step
was.
plan?
There was, and I addressed my employees with these plans last week, and here's what I said. Yes, I forfeited some things to get the step plan in place. I did, and that's on me, and let me address those as time goes along. I can't bring everything to y'all at once, but probably in the years ahead, I will address those years that didn't get fulfilled in the step plan. It's not perfect
Yeah,
by any stretch, but it's a whole lot better than what they had initially or had in place when I started looking at the salaries and trying to get better. But yes, there is years that are missing. When you get on up, you skip a year or two before you get the step plan again. We need to address that. We need to fill those years in. I know that.
Okay.
But
Thank
let's
you.
take one step at a time, or we can sit down and talk about it either one. Whichever way
Okay.
y'all want to do.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Any other business that needs to be brought forth before this committee? Said none, I will take any communications from the audience at this point in time. You'll have 5 minutes to discuss it. Give us your name, please, and
Well, good morning. My name is Courtney Berger. I'm a detective with the Bradley County Sheriff's Office. I would like to speak on behalf of my coworkers today, as I feel that most of them probably have the same outlook that I do on pay. Imagine for a moment you have a 7-year-old who knows what the black phone is. The sweet little boy knows that the black phone must not be touched by him, and that if it rings, mommy has to answer it and has to leave often just because it rang. The black phone has rang on Christmas, Thanksgiving, his personal favorite, Halloween. It has rang at baseball fields, Sunday mornings while we're at church. And for many reasons, the black phone ringing has taken mommy from him and his baby brother to help the citizens and community of Bradley County. Property Crimes Detective. I am one of several passionate detectives who hold this title. We're proud of our solved crime statistics that prove that we are one of the best groups in the state of Tennessee. I have solved multiple strings of auto burglaries, residential burglaries, thefts that have totaled over $250,000, and many other crimes. But sometimes, when the black phone rings, I am not the detective who solves property crimes. I'm also a detective who must leave a burglary to go straight to a suicide. I must speak to family members who have found their loved one dead with a hole in their head and a gun laying beside them. After hours of speaking to witnesses, photographing the scene, collecting evidence, and examining a body of a person who took their own life, I finally get to leave to see my family. Except I don't. The black phone now ringing, and now tired, mentally drained already, I have to go be a negotiator at a scene where someone is having a mental health crisis. Because I am one of the trained, qualified negotiators who work for the citizens of Bradley County. After hours of speaking directly to the person in crisis, a peaceful surrender was the outcome that day. I don't think most people comprehend the mental tax that is required from the job that we do daily. 171, the number of hours that I am expected to work in 4 weeks' time before I see overtime pay. I would venture to say that most people will see overtime pay at 160 hours, which would be equivalent to a normal 40-hour work week. Not only does the black phone ring that takes me away from my family, but surviving comfortably off the salary I'm paid by Bradley County government is simply not enough in the world that we live in. So I, like many other employees, come home after a long day of solving crimes. My children run to greet me at the front door screaming, "Yay, mommy is home." They hug me. I go change my clothes, sometimes having to shower first because I've been working in unimaginably filthy places all day. My son sees what I'm wearing now and has asked me before, "Mommy, you just got home. Are we poor or something? Why do you have to go clean a house today?" My sweet 7-year-old understands that we do not have enough money, so after the long, hard day at the sheriff's office, I now must work a second job to afford his cleats for this baseball season that is about to start. Over 9 years ago, I took an oath to protect and serve Bradley County, and I do that every day. I've heard people say before, "You knew what this paid when you got hired." While that is true, the economy we live in today is simply not the economy that it was 9 years ago. I'm not the only quality employee that is hopeful of change. I'm not the only quality employee that may not be here much longer if there's not a significant change in pay. I'm not the only quality employee that has to work special details for overtime or have a second job. Bradley County Sheriff's Office crime statistics speak for themselves. We're the best in this area, starting from patrol deputies all the way to the sheriff himself. However, our pay does not reflect our worth to this community. You typically get one chance to solve a crime and hold the person who committed that crime accountable. This starts with patrol officers who know how to secure a scene, great supervision, and detectives who know how to process the scene effectively. How much are quality employees worth to this community? How many other quality employees must leave to simply survive financially before the problem of pay is addressed properly? I humbly ask each of you to consider a significant pay raise to keep experienced employees in Bradley County. Sincerely, a quality employee, mother, and wife. Thank you.
Anyone else?